Hello, everyone. My name is Lucas. I am 26 years old, and I come from Brazil. Just 5 months ago, I could not speak even a full sentence in English. Not even something as basic as, "How are you?" without pausing and overthinking each word. I was completely lost and unsure of where to begin. Today, I want to tell you exactly how I learned English in only 5 months. I did it without expensive tutors, without traveling to an English-speaking country, and without wasting my time on methods that do not work in real life. But please understand, this is not only my story. This could be your story too. If you have ever felt stuck, if you have felt embarrassed when trying to speak English, or if you have tried and failed many times, please keep watching, because I was exactly where you are. And if you follow my journey step by step, you will understand how you can improve your English as well. Let us go back to the beginning, because my journey did not start with motivation or confidence. It began with a failure that changed everything. My journey began with a dream. I had always wanted to work for a global company. My goal was to become a software engineer at a major international tech firm. I loved programming, and I was dedicated. I studied hard, worked on projects day and night, and constantly improved my skills. Eventually, the opportunity came. A company in the United States invited me for an interview. I still remember reading the email. "Congratulations, you have been selected for an interview." My heart raced. I imagined a new life, living in another country, earning a high salary, and working with some of the best minds in the world. I was nervous but excited. Then the interview began. I logged into the video call and saw 3 interviewers, all native English speakers. They began speaking, but it felt like someone had pressed fast forward on their voices. Their words moved too fast. My brain could not keep up. I could not understand them clearly. One of them asked, "Can you tell us about your experience in software development?" The answer was in my mind. I knew what I wanted to say, but nothing came out. I said, "Yes, software, many projects, good. I am good." Their faces were polite, but the silence that followed felt like a knife to my chest. They asked more questions, but I could not answer properly. Finally, one of them said, "All right, thank you for your time." I knew what that meant. I had failed, not because I lacked skill, not because I did not understand software development, but because I could not speak English. That day, everything changed. After the interview ended, I sat alone for a long time. I felt disappointed, but more than that, I felt helpless. I had worked for years to become excellent in my field, but none of that mattered because I could not express myself in English. The job slipped through my hands, not because of my skills, but because of a language barrier. That night, I made a decision. I told myself, I will learn English, and I will do it quickly, but I also knew I had to do it differently. Most people, when they want to learn English, start by signing up for expensive online classes. That is exactly what I did the year before, but it had not worked. I remembered sitting through lessons filled with grammar rules and vocabulary lists. I memorized definitions, answered exercises, and even passed small tests. But when I tried to have a real conversation after 3 months, I froze. The words were somewhere in my mind, but I could not bring them out. I realized that studying English and speaking English are two very different things. So I decided to forget traditional methods. No more grammar books. No more endless vocabulary lists. I needed something that worked in real life. That is when I created my 5-month method, a step-by-step system that focused on practical spoken English. And it started with something completely different from what most learners expect. Most beginners believe they need to learn more words to speak fluently. I used to think that way too. If I can just memorize 1,000 new words, I told myself I will be fluent. But I was wrong. I already knew many words, but I still could not speak. So for the first 15 days, I made a decision. I would not learn any new vocabulary. Instead, I would focus on how to use the words I already knew. Here is exactly what I did. Step 1. I created a survival sentence list. I sat down with a notebook and asked myself, what do I need to say in English every day? I wrote down 50 simple, real-life sentences. Sentences like, hello, how are you? Can you repeat that, please? I do not understand. I am learning English. I need help. Every morning, I stood in front of a mirror and read all 50 sentences out loud, 10 times each. At first, I sounded slow and awkward, but by day 5, something amazing happened. These sentences started to become automatic. I did not have to think. The words came naturally. Step 2. I started speaking to myself in English. Every day. This was one of the most powerful habits I built. When I was alone, I described what I was doing. In the shower, I said, I am taking a shower. The water is warm. It feels relaxing. While cooking, I am making eggs. I like eggs. They are easy to cook. It felt strange at first, but I reminded myself this was my private classroom. No one could hear me. No one could judge me. After just 1 week, I noticed a big change. My brain started thinking in English. Step 3. I practiced 5 sentences a day with emotion. I picked 5 sentences from movies or conversations and repeated them 10 times. But I did not just repeat the words. I copied the emotion, speed, and pronunciation of the native speaker. This helped me fix my accent and speak more naturally. By the end of the first 15 days, I was no longer translating in my head. I could say basic sentences smoothly, and for the first time, I felt confident. But this was only the beginning. After the first 15 days, I had a new confidence. I could speak simple sentences without thinking, and I no longer hesitated when I introduced myself. But I wanted more. I wanted to understand native speakers without confusion. I wanted to have real conversations. I wanted to speak fluently. So I created a new strategy. This is when I started what I now call the question-answer method. Here is how it works. I asked myself simple questions in English. I answered immediately without planning. I repeated each question with longer, more detailed answers. For example, question, what did you do today? First answer, I worked. Next answer, I worked on a project. Final answer, I worked on a coding project for 3 hours. Then I took a short break and had some tea. Each time, I pushed myself to add more detail. This trained my brain to think faster and speak without hesitation. I used this same method every day for 30 minutes. Over time, my speaking became smoother and more natural. But there was one more thing I had to fix: pronunciation. Even when I said the right words, I still sounded like a beginner. My accent was strong, and I knew it was holding me back. So I use what I call the echo technique. I listen to short clips from movies, YouTube, or podcasts. After each sentence, I pause the audio. I repeated the sentence out loud. Same speed, same tone, same emotion. Example, audio said, I do not know what you are talking about. I copied. I do not know what you are talking about. 10 times. Slowly, I started to sound more natural. Even native speakers began saying, "Your English sounds really good." By the end of the second month, I could speak full paragraphs. My brain stopped translating. My mouth moved faster. I felt like I was finally becoming fluent, but I had one final goal to reach. I wanted to test myself. So I joined an online conversation group where people from all over the world spoke English together. At first, I was nervous. Would they understand me? Would I freeze like I did during the interview months ago? But I took a deep breath and remembered how far I had come. I started speaking. My sentences were clear. I did not search for words. I was finally thinking and speaking in English naturally. That night, something shifted inside me. I stood in front of a mirror and spoke for 10 minutes, no script, no hesitation. For the first time ever, it felt easy. 5 months after I began this journey, I applied for my dream job again. This time, I was ready. During the interview, I spoke clearly, answered every question with confidence, and even asked a few of my own. And a few days later, I got the call. Congratulations, you got the job. I felt tears in my eyes. I had done it. All the hours of practice, all the struggle, every moment of self-doubt. It had all been worth it. I called my parents and said, I got the job. My mother cried. My father smiled and said, we always believed in you. That day, I learned something powerful. Fluency is not just about language. It is about belief, consistency, and never giving up. So, if you feel stuck in your English journey, I want you to remember this. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need expensive lessons. You only need one thing: commitment. Speak every day. Listen with focus. Think in English. Make mistakes. Learn from them. Improve. And one day soon, you will look back and say, I cannot believe I used to be afraid to speak. Backhand index pointing, right? If this story inspired you, please like, subscribe, and share. I will see you in the next video.